This is my triceps exercise tier list. I will show you which triceps exercises are the best ones in my opinion, which means no useless scientific studies, just real life experience. Let's kick it off with all the tricep pushdown variations. There is a lot of tricep pushdown variations that you can do. You can use the straight bar, the V-bar, the rope attachment and many more. You can't really go wrong with any of these variations. Just pick the variation that you enjoy the most. It's really not that deep. If you don't have some kind of a tricep pushdown in your routine already, I highly recommend you to add one, as this is one of the best triceps exercises that you can do. That's why it's going into the S tier. While we are still talking about the triceps pushdowns, let's take a look at the single arm tricep pushdown. You should definitely not underestimate this exercise. Yes, you will need to do it one hand at a time, so it's going to take a little bit more time. But that's the only negative thing that I can say about this exercise. But if you look at it from the other side, doing it one hand at a time might actually help you to focus on your triceps a little bit more, which can be a huge deal for people who have trouble feeling their triceps. The single arm tricep pushdown is a great exercise, that's why it's going into the S tier. Next on the list is the close grip bench press. This might be a little bit controversial, but I think that the close grip bench press is not that great of a tricep exercise. Is it going to target your triceps? Yes, it will, but there is a catch. If you look for example at the triceps pushdown, you can see that the only muscle that is being worked with this exercise is the triceps. But when you do the close grip bench press, other muscle groups are also going to be involved, mostly your chest and your shoulders. And if your goal is just to isolate your triceps, then this exercise is not that great, because the chest and shoulders are going to take over the triceps. You can for sure get some triceps gains out of this exercise, but I don't think that it's the best way of doing so. So the close grip bench press is going into the B tier. Next exercise is the diamond pushup. The diamond pushup is struggling from the similar issue as the close grip bench press. There is a lot of other muscle groups than just triceps that are going to get involved in the diamond pushup. That's why I simply can't rank it very highly. Can it be still used for home workouts and other niche cases? For sure, but if we are talking about working out in a fully equipped gym, I don't think that you would ever go out of your way to do the diamond pushup. So the diamond pushup is gonna go into the same tier as the close grip bench press, B tier. Now let's take a look at some overhead extensions. First up is the overhead dumbbell extension. This is definitely not a bad exercise, but there are for sure better variations of this exercise, but there are also worse variations of this exercise. Even though the overhead dumbbell extension can get a little awkward at times, it's still a solid exercise. I'm going to put it in the A tier. The better variation of the overhead dumbbell extension is the upright overhead cable extension. This is hands down the best triceps overhead extension. It offers everything that you would want from an overhead extension. With this exercise, you can really build a massive long head of the triceps. Definitely give this exercise a shot. I'm going to put it in the S tier. There is one more exercise that is very similar to the upright overhead cable extension. It's the leaning overhead cable extension. You can see by the name that the only difference between those two exercises is that you either stand upright or you lean forward. I would say that they are pretty much identical in terms of how effective they are. Just pick the one that you enjoy more. The leaning overhead cable extension is also going into the S tier. The next overhead extension is the single arm dumbbell extension. When I said that there are worse variations of the dumbbell extension, I had this exercise in mind. This exercise can get extremely awkward, and as you go up in weight, it just becomes the try not to crack your skull challenge. So if you are going to do a dumbbell overhead extension, I would recommend you to do the normal dumbbell overhead extension instead of the single arm variation. The single arm variation can still be used if you like it, but I'm not that big of a fan. That's why I'm going to put it in the B tier. But you can do exactly the same movement, but instead of a dumbbell, you use a cable. This small change will drastically improve the exercise. Not only that you will not have to worry about cracking your skull anymore, but you will get a much better stretch of the triceps. The single arm cable extension will go into the S tier. Next up on the list is the lying crossover triceps extension. The names of these exercises are really getting absurd. Speaking of absurd, that's exactly what this exercise is. Don't do this exercise, under any circumstance. This is as bad as it gets. The lying crossover triceps extension is going into the science-based tier. Now let's talk about the skullcrusher. That's one of my favorite exercises. There are two ways of doing the skullcrusher. The first one is the classic way, where you lower the bar to your forehead and then move it back. That is what is considered to be the classic skullcrusher. The other method of doing it is to move the bar over your head, which will increase the range of motion and stretch of the triceps. You could argue that this is not a skullcrusher anymore, instead it's the lying triceps extension, but I'm just gonna bundle it into one thing. I would say that the second variation, where you move the bar over your head, is a little bit better than the classic variation, due to the increased range of motion. But I have seen that not everyone can do that, due to poor mobility or pre-existing injuries. So it really depends on you. I'm going to put the skullcrusher bundle into the A tier. The next exercise is the dumbbell skullcrusher. This is kind of a combination of the two techniques that I talked about a second ago. Because you are using dumbbells, you don't have to stop at your forehead and you can go a bit deeper. The dumbbell skullcrusher is an awesome exercise, A tier. Now let's take a look at the dumbbell triceps kickback. I would only use this exercise if you have very limited equipment available, because the only part of this exercise where you can get some triceps gains is at the top of the rep. You could improve it a little bit by pausing at the top, but it's still a very niche exercise. That's why it's going into the D tier. But as with the previous exercises, you can easily improve the triceps kickback by doing it with a cable. The cable will give you the much needed tension throughout the whole movement. And as you could see with the dumbbell version, the tension was occurring only at the top of the rep. Thanks to this improvement, I'm going to put the cable triceps kickback one tier above its dumbbell counterpart, C tier. Next exercise on the list is dips. There is one important thing that you need to know about dips. If you keep your body upright while doing the dips, you will be targeting the triceps. But the more you start leaning forward, the more it's going to target your chest and shoulders. So keep that in mind. I'm going to put it in the same tier as the close grip bench press and the diamond push-up, as it basically struggles from the similar issues. In my opinion, the dips are way better for building your chest than for isolating your triceps. That's why it's going into the B tier. And the last exercise on the list is the cable crossbody tricep extension. This is a great exercise that targets all the heads of the triceps. But the problem with it is that you need to hook two cable stations at once. And that's pretty much only possible if your gym is empty. But even though it's a great exercise, I don't think I can put it in the S tier. Because in my opinion, the other cable exercises in the S tier are just a tiny bit better than this exercise. It's very close, but I'm still going to put it in the A tier. This concludes my triceps exercise tier list. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And if you are interested in effective and easy to understand training plans that use all the S tier exercises, check out my website, link in the description. And as always, a big thanks to all the supporters on my Patreon. Did you like this video? Then you will for sure like this one too.